The Biden crime family defense narrative continues to shift. They used to tell us that old Hunter and Joe never had any conversations. During the campaign, there were many clips of Joe Biden saying that. No, I never talked to them. It's arm's length distance between us. It's so that we don't develop conflicts of interest. But something interesting happened at the White House. It shifted very rapidly from we never speak, we never talk, I'm not interested or even around my son's affairs, to suddenly shifting into Joe Biden has now never done business with Hunter. And we're saying, wait a minute, nobody was asking about doing business. We were asking about simple discussions. And so it feels like the goalpost has moved a little bit. I'm waiting for Joe Biden has never got a direct deposit from Hunter. Check his bank records. There's no evidence of a direct deposit from Hunter Biden, whenever that is. That's how far the goalposts have moved. Now, this might be because we know that they did talk about all this stuff, and there are people who are going to testify accordingly. Devin Archer is going to be testifying very soon because the Oversight Committee has demanded it. And so we'll get up to speed on the latest on that, including Hunter Biden going on the offense now and filing ethics complaints against Marjorie Taylor Greene. But let's make sure we see this major shift happening at the White House. From never having spoken with Hunter to now never having done business with Hunter. Watch how fast the narrative shifts. These are several clips from the 2020 campaign. Several of them. You can see Campaign 2020 down there at the bottom. Here's Joe talking about his relationships.
The president's accusation against you stems from your son, Hunter Biden, working on the board of an energy company in Ukraine while you were vice president. Do you agree that that could at least create the appearance of a conflict?
Look, what I agree is with that there's not a single solitary thing anyone said that was done wrong. I don't discuss business with my son.
Don't discuss.
I didn't know that was the case in it.
Don't know.
Because I don't discuss things with my son or my family because I don't want to have any knowledge of any, I don't want to be accused of, well, you talk with your son or you talk with your whomever. And so the fact is, though, everybody's looked at that. He did nothing wrong, period.
All right, that's one clip.
Zero.
We also had this one with Ducey over from Fox News. Remember this one? Joe Biden got a little cranky.
I've never spoken to my son about going to
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader? If that's what happened. That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me.
Trump.
Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah, Trump did it, not me. All right, so we have another one.
Do you think it was wrong for him to take that position,
No.
knowing that it was really because
$83,000 a month.
that company wanted access to you?
Well, that's not true. You're saying things you do not know what you're talking about.
Whoa.
No one said that. Who said that?
Everybody.
Don't
Who
you
said
think that? Don't you think that it's?
Everybody said that. Here's another one.
But it said, quote, Biden and his son are stone cold crooked. Have you talked to your son about any of this?
I talked to my son. We've communicated. He lives out in California.
About what?
We communicated a couple times. But look, there is zero evidence of any assertion being made.
Well, there's a lot of evidence now. I mean, it's starting to come out. We're starting to see it. But this is where he says no talks, no conversations, no discussions. And we've got witnesses who are apparently going to tell us the opposite of that.
Vice President, as you've said, your son Hunter today gave an interview, admitted that he made a mistake and showed poor judgment by serving on that board in Ukraine. Did you make a mistake by letting him? You were the point person on Ukraine at the time. If you can answer.
Look, my son's statement speaks for itself. I did my job. I never discussed a single thing with my son about anything having to do with Ukraine. No one has indicated I have. We've always kept everything separate. Even when my son was the Attorney General of the state of Delaware, we never discussed anything. So there'd be no potential conflict. My son made a judgment. I'm proud of the judgment he made. I'm proud of what he had to say.
Bo was the Attorney General out of Delaware, which is another very interesting thing, which is why we suspect that there are no charges coming out of Delaware because they control that state. But the point here, every one of these clips was Joe Biden. I don't talk to my son about it. We don't even talk. We don't even get in the same room. We keep our distance because I don't even want to be asked the question. But watch how the language shifts from the White House today. Very careful language. Watch her reading very carefully so she gets it right.
Chairman James Comer today says that the Oversight Committee, has evidence that the president in the past communicated directly with foreign business associates of his son Hunter Biden many times. Curious if the White House and the president still stand behind his comment that he's never been involved and has never even spoken to his son about his.
Never even spoken.
So I've been asked this question a million times. The answer is not going to change. The answer remains the same. The president was never in business with his son. I just don't have anything else to add.
Oh, man, you heard that one. Never in business. Give me a break. So those goalposts moved pretty quickly, didn't they? From never even spoken to him. He works in Ukraine? You're kidding me. That's amazing. My son's over in Ukraine now. What a grown-up boy. He had no idea. Now, they were never in business. Why? Because, of course, they were meeting and talking and emailing and going to dinners and hobnobbing around different galas, going golfing together. But there was never what does this mean? A formal business contract? They didn't form LLCs together? And by the way, this is also nonsense garbage also, because Hunter sent an email when he was hanging out with CEFC, the business in China that was doing the energy work. Hunter was facilitating with them and said, I need keys made before he got paid his $5 million super chat from the CCP. That went into his bank account. He sends a letter over to the faculty at the new office, and he says, I need keys from me, China, and my daddy, before they went out snorting coke or whatever with his hookers. So I think they were in business together. They had keys to the same office. The other layer here is we're also not sure that they were in a business either at all. We don't really know what the business was. We just know Hunter Biden was getting paid millions of dollars for unknown reasons with no real skill sets. $1 million a month for Burisma. We're not saying it was a legitimate business either. We think it was a quid pro quo exploiting American influence for financial gain. So that's a whole nother layer that they're lying about as well. Now, the reason why this shift is coming out hard, and a lot of people are catching it, is because Devin Archer is set to testify. Devin Archer is a business executive that used to hang out with Hunty and Daddy VP. And apparently, at least 24 phone calls between Vice President Joe on the phone with business associates 24 times. Ex-partner Devon Archer scheduled to testify. Here's a Hunter Biden text message. $10 million per annum budget to use further in the interest of the junior partners. This move to $5 million is completely new to me, not acceptable. I can make $5 million in salary at any law firm in America, which is like, that's a nice salary, man. Not because of his legal skills, okay? Just to be clear on that. He's not filing like great motions to dismiss or something. It's daddy related. If you think it's about money, it's not. The Bidens are the best I know at doing exactly what the chairman wants from this partnership. Now, according to Devon Archer, he's expected to testify to Congress not this week, but the next. The first son's former best friend, and he's apparently going to say that Hunter would dial in his father. Archer is facing jail. He created a $60 billion bond fraud, scheduled to testify before the House Oversight Committee. That meetings that he witnessed that were attended by Joe Biden, the vice president, either in person or via speakerphone, when Hunter would call his father and introduce him to foreign business partners and prospective investors. Now, I know that there's a lot of probably individuals in the mainstream media who would say, well, this is from the New York Post. Where are they getting their sources? And just as a reminder, this has been the most accurate media enterprise of all of them on Hunter Biden stuff since the very beginning, since 2019 with Bob Yalinsky, all the way up through the laptop. They were silenced and censored. And so, as far as we can tell, there is nobody more accurate than the New York Post reporting. And so Comer says we're very much looking forward to hearing from Devon Archer. One such meeting apparently took place in Dubai late the evening, Friday, December 2015, when Joe is VP. Took place after a board meeting with Burisma, which was paying Hunter $83,000 a month. Archer, who is also a director on the board, is expected to testify that after dinner with the Burisma board at the Burj Al Arab Hotel, he and Hunter traveled 6 miles north to the Four Seasons Resort in Dubai. They wanted to have a drink with one of Hunter's friends. While they were sitting outside a bar, Vadim Poharsky, a senior Burisma executive, phoned to ask where they were because Burisma's owner, Mykola Zolchevsky, needed to speak with Hunter urgently. Soon afterward, 2 Ukrainians joined Hunter and Archer at the Four Seasons, and they said, can you ring your dad? Can you get your daddy on the phone? At the time, it was early afternoon Friday. Hunter then called his father, put him on speaker, placed the phone on the table, and introduced the Ukrainians to Joe Biden by name. He said, hey, Dad, I want you to meet Nikolai and Vadim. He also said the words to the effect of, these are Burisma bigwigs that need our support. Biden greeted the Ukrainians, but spoke only in vague pleasantries during the short call. Of course, Joe Biden's not going to do anything right there. This is just a show of force. This is just, hey, I told you I'll get my vice president daddy on the phone. Daddy's on the phone. And in other such interactions with Hunter's overseas business partners, Archer is expected to testify. And they're expected to probe the reasons for the urgent phone call request, among other things. They'll note the context. 3 days after the speaker phone call, Vice President, who was then with Obama, that was the point man on Ukraine, he was going to fly to Kyiv to address the Ukrainian parliament, speaking to them about corruption. 10 weeks before the phone call, the U.S. Ambassador Pyat had given a speech about corruption, and by then, Viktor Shokin, the Ukrainian prosecutor, was already investigating Burisma. Within 2 months, he seized 4 houses, bunch of Rolls Royces belonging to Zlochevsky. He was living in exile over in Dubai. A month later, Biden gets involved, threatens the $1 billion. Joe Biden gets Shokin fired. Boom. Quid pro quo. And he said that. We've played the clip here multiple times. So now this guy is expected to testify about other meetings, another speakerphone meeting, including a restaurant in Paris where Hunter whipped out his phone, at least it was his phone this time, crying out loud, and put his father on speaker to impress prospective investors. Did this little party trick over and over again. Did it as many as 24 times in Archer's presence. The Long Island-born father of 3 is expected to tell congressional investigators under oath. I'm also aware of other Biden family business associates confirming that Joe would take phone calls from Hunter in the middle of business meetings and would weigh in via the speakerphone, says Bob Yelinsky. All these people really close to him just continue to tell us there's all this evidence. Sitting with Hunter at Chateau Marmont, before I met Joe in May 2017, Hunter was adamant his father takes his calls anytime, no matter what his lawyers say. And we don't even appreciate the extent of this corruption. So apparently they're going to be meeting. Catherine Herridge over from CBS, who's also been a great source on this, posted an X on the X and says that a GOP oversight spokesperson confirmed CBS News a transcribed interview with Devin Archer scheduled for Monday, July 31st. As a former business partner, Archer provides a firsthand account of Hunter's business deals and involvement of family members. And so all of that is coming soon, which is why the White House is shifting their narrative. The lies are being exposed. The Biden White House is continuing to shift the narrative, and I expect it to continue as they continue to cover up.